M. Night Shyamalan is back, baby. Can't keep him down. He just keeps making movies, whether you want him to or not. And his latest is Knock at the Cabin. Alonso, tell us about it.
Your family must choose to willingly sacrifice one of the three of you to prevent the apocalypse.
Whew. All right. So a family, two dads and their daughter, are vacationing at a cabin in the woods. And suddenly Dave Bautista shows up with three pals, and they insist that this family is going to have to pick one of them to be sacrificed, or horrible apocalyptic things are going to happen to the world. And so at first they're like, yeah, right, sure. But then when they fail to pick someone for the first go round, tsunamis happen, there are earthquakes. And as the days proceed, more and more tribulation befalls the earth. And we're left to wonder, is this a real thing? Are Bautista and his friends lunatics? And sadly, none of the answers are particularly interesting, because this is a movie that sort of sets you up with a binary. Either it's really happening or it's not really happening.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the point of this is, and I don't know what the metaphor of this is.
Mm-hmm.
There is an MVP here, and that is actually two of them, the cinematographers.
Oh, yeah. Jaron
Blaschke and Lowell Mayer. There's some really cool camera work going on here. The opening sequence where the young daughter, played by Kristen Cui, is talking to Bautista is like very close up with these really cool angles. There's a fight scene later where Ben Aldridge is walloping on Rupert Grint, where the camera is doing some cool stuff. There's a big range of motion, I won't give away what it is, that Bautista does at one point. And I'm like, okay, this movie looks cool, and it, you know, there's a lot of thought put into the craft, but ultimately it is a movie about a queer couple and their kid being terrorized by people who insist they're not religious fanatics.
And insist that they're not terrorizing them because they're a queer couple with an adopted Chinese daughter.
Exactly. They just happen to be, they've had visions, and they know these people in the cabin are the ones that have to do this thing. And I have not read the book upon which this is based. I do know that he wildly departs from the way this book ends in a whole new way. And I think I kind of like the book's ending better, but I think all of this is sort of nonsense. Also, one of the gays is an atheist and the other one isn't. And there's definitely talk about, like, God is doing all this because you aren't sacrificing someone. And it's like, really? Yeah. What is even happening in this movie? I find it all just kind of baffling. I
do too. And it's a really intriguing premise for a while. And, you know, so often since The Sixth Sense, we go into M. Night Shyamalan movies looking for the twist.
Sure.
Right? Like from the very beginning, what's the twist going to be?
Right.
The twist here is that there is no twist. It's just incredibly literal and clunky. Yeah. And he kind of like paints himself into a corner with how this ends, because whatever happens, it's going to be awful. And like you said, what is the metaphor of that? I feel like the ideology of this film is so muddled, because for a while it seems to be an indictment of conspiracy theories, QAnon crazies. These people are all regular folks from like normal walks of life. Dave Bautista is a second grade teacher.
Yeah, but they met on a message board.
One woman's a nurse. Yeah, like they all met at a message board. And they all see the same thing. They all believe the same thing. And at first it feels like, okay, this is about the echo chamber that exists within social media, within the internet. We're supposed to be about an exploration of a variety of ideas, but ends up just reaffirming what we already know or believe. And it feels like that. The fact that they keep saying that it's not a queer couple being targeted, they're just a random family, like that seems disingenuous, and that feels unsatisfying in the way that they explain that.
Yeah.
I almost wish that, and I'm not going to spoil anything, I almost wish that he hadn't shown us anything. Because they turn on the TV and they see stuff. And I almost wish that it hadn't gotten that literal.
Sure.
I almost feel like the fear of not knowing, the fear of the doom would have been more powerful than actually showing it to us.
Yeah, because then you have these people who are isolated, and they have to sort of take the word of these intruders that the thing that they say is going to happen is happening. As it is, yes, you're right. They turn on the TV. We do get to see things. So also, if you're somebody who like doesn't ever want to see 9/11 footage again, there's some stuff here you probably are not going to be super down for. And it just felt kind of gross and exploitative in general of recent tragedies, both 9/11, the pandemic, you name it. Like it's just all being Vitamixed onto the screen for us by Mr. Shyamalan. I mean, the closest I can come up with for a guiding metaphor here is that like society's outcasts are often called upon to make sacrifices for the rest of society, even though the rest of society treats them like shit and will never acknowledge those sacrifices. Maybe, but even that is just feels very flimsy.
And the fact that we have these flashbacks to Ben Aldridge and Jonathan Groff's relationship at various key points, like an important date or adopting their little girl or, you know, meeting with the parents or whatever it is. Like they let us get to know this couple and really like this couple and want them to be okay. Yeah. And so to inflict all of this suffering upon them feels like it's being inflicted upon us, and for what purpose?
I suppose if you're gonna dabble in this kind of thing, it would have been worse to not humanize these characters.
Yeah, the little girl is great. Kristen Cui is great in this. She's got so much poise and presence beyond her years. She's adorable, but she's never like a precocious little mop, but she's a really good actress.
Yeah,
and Dave Bautista continues to impress. And he has to show shadings here that are different from anything else we've seen from him before. And, you know, he was so good in like one scene in Blade Runner 2047.
Right.
And he's gotten to show, you know, more of Drax than we originally saw of him just being a stoic giant. And so it's cool to see this kind of sensitivity in him as well. He's very good here. And you're right. A lot of the camera work is really cool. M. Night likes cool camera work. You know, it's the Hitchcockian homage in him, I think. Yaron Blaschke also shot The Lighthouse and The Northman.
Oh, okay.
In case you wondered about his work previously. But yeah, ultimately I'm like, what is he trying to say? I don't get the point of it. It feels very muddled in its messaging and just sort of feels pointless.
Also, Dave Bautista is a second grade teacher with those tattoos, which I guess in the modern world is not that shocking, but I was like, okay.
Maybe he wears long sleeve shirts to school.
There's a story here, I guess, but you know, I couldn't stop looking at his head. You know, he's got those he's got those lines on his head. Anyway. He's the performances are fine, the craft is good, the script is garbage.
Okay. I'm saying 4.
3.5.
Okay. So knock the cabins out there. Let us know if you plan to see it.